welcome to the Bass Hit Studio. I am introducing you the mixing engineer and the vocal engineer for my latest album, Set for Love. And this is David Darlington.
Hi, Mavis. Thanks for coming in. I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here again. Bring back a lot of precious memory. So before we talk about an album, I would like to introduce you to the audience a little bit. So David, can you tell a little bit about yourself? How do you become an engineer?
Well, I was always a musician since actually junior high school. You know, when everybody was in garage bands, and I had a little band, and I played electric bass.
Right, okay.
And I went off to school to become an architect, but I wanted to learn jazz on the upright bass. So I didn't have an upright bass, so I went to the music school and said, "Can I borrow it?" And they said, "If you come to orchestra, you can take it home." I thought, "This is great!
Okay.
What a great deal!"
To bring a big bass.
So the first thing we played was Beethoven's Eroica Symphony, and I just caught the bug and fell in love with orchestra. And, so I switched my major and became a music major, and I played professionally for a while in the symphonic world. In Tampa, I was the assistant principal bassist for a few years, and then I always wanted to come to New York and see what would happen, see if I could compete with the other bass players. I originally moved here to be a bassist, and do that hustle and be meet the great bass players
and be a jazz player.
Be a jazz or rock, whatever would come my way. Be in the Beatles. And of course, New York has so many opportunities of really great playing and not so great playing. Like, it's just people are worried about New York because of the reputation, but it's just bigger. There's great people, of course, but there's great people everywhere, and there's not so great people. So you have to find your level, and I finally did, and I was making a good living. But I always loved making records. And every time I would get a gig in the studio as a sideman or on a jingle or something, looking in the controller, like, man, it's so cool in there. How can I do more of that?
So you want to see equipment, you get excited.
And just the process of recording, and okay, now we did the band, now we're going to do the singing. Especially like jingles, commercials. It's very quick. They do the band, and they do the singers, and then they do the mix, and by noon they're done. So this is amazing. Like all these things we know, and pop records and everything. This is how they're put together. That process really appealed to me. So I started dabbling in that and getting equipment at my house, and trying to make demos with people and stuff, and little by little I would get some side gigs, and like when other engineers would have to go somewhere, they say, "Can you take my weekend session?" and stuff like that.
Little by little.
Finally, some of the studio managers started noticing me a little bit, and I got a steady job in the studio as the in-house engineer.
And slowly you'll make your way up to your two Grammys. What are those two records?
Well, the first one was Wayne Shorter's Allegria, which is a beautiful
I love the album.
Orchestral jazz album, and I recorded some of it. There was another engineer who was very integral in the recording process, and then I mixed most of it. And the other one was Eddie Palmieri and Brian Lynch, Simpatico, which was a super Latin jazz album with the great arrangements by Brian Lynch, who's a dear friend of mine, and we mixed together. And that one that year. And then I've been participant on some other stuff, so I have some certificates. Herbie Hancock's Gershwin's World, and this year Sowito Gospel Choir won the World Music Award, which I mastered. Another certificate. Another certificate is on the way. I hope.
Yes.
So. But that's just the side. That's just the residual effect of enjoying what you do, and you never know. You come in to make a record. This could be our next Grammy.
Yeah, that's what I hope, because everybody in this record, a lot of them have one.
I mean, when we were doing Wayne or Herbie, we weren't saying this is going to be a Grammy. We're just making the best record we know how to make, which is how
I do plan to submit it after your help.
It's
something I'm actually very, very proud of.
Absolutely.
For me, to work with David is something I really enjoy, that because he mentioned he's an orchestral player, and I write orchestral music.
Of course.
So we can talk about colors. He understand, what I'm looking for,
and also form.
Right. So it's something that I don't really have that in common with jazz musician, but that's special language. That we remember we're talking about Stravinsky, we're talking about Ravel,
and every reference points.
Right. Every nuance I wrote for my strings and little horns. So I found this is perfect guy, perfect man for.
That's the beauty of that that large ensembles, there's so many colors, and people who can really write and orchestrate for orchestras that's to me is a big skill set.
Right. More
and,
than
I can't do that myself, but I understand that.
Right, you understand
and
it,
what you're going for.
And you play in orchestra, so you hear how it comes together.
Even when you're sitting on the stage with 100 of the best musicians in your neighborhood, it's a pretty good sound.
Right, it's attract your ear to be.
It's just really beautiful, and the guy over there on the French horn, he's the best, and the violist is the best, and the conductor is the best.
And that color become that. And the balance of it.
Right.
So David is a perfect man to be a great to be a mixing engineer. You also engineer my vocal part besides engineer.
That was fun.
So can we talk about a little bit about that? Because
sure.
I actually was very self-conscious being the singer of this album.
Yeah.
And because I'm not known as a singer, even though I sing, I'm a pianist and a composer, but I kind of decided, okay, I should sing my own story.
I remember that. I remember you were very, you really felt that you would be able to interpret them better than somebody else. Even if we got Barbara Streisand.
Right, or Whitney Houston or,
whoever, you've had a strong feeling that you should do it, but then I think you were very concerned about the techniques.
Right, and addictions and,
and all that. So we did really two separate vocal works. We did it first with you trying to really be perfect on everything, and it got a little stressful. You were nervous, and then you know what we said? You know what, Mavis? Just sing from the heart.
Right, that's what you told me.
Do you?
You said, Mavis, people are not going to wear a lab coat and pick on your diction.
They're not going to have a clipboard. Oh, she mispronounced blah blah blah.
Right. So
and then once we talked about that, I saw a little light bulb go. Oh, yeah, no, he's right. Let me just go in there and. Zen out,
and just me and David. You went without a
and then
producer.
we had a
great
ball.
Time. Yeah, especially.
And it went quick.
Right, and especially the first hit is the Mango song. That actually is the hardest one.
Yeah,
but it has a lot of words. But that's David's favor, and then he was telling me, just swing it with the flow. And
it's a really great melody. It really gets stuck in your head.
Right.
I found myself driving home after work singing.
Right, so that was so I take that. Also, David's the favorite one. So I decided that should be the first single. And it was a big band.
Yeah, and then we did a few takes of each, and we picked the best parts and put it together. That's very common practice. Whitney Houston does that. I'm sure Barbara Streisand does that. So we didn't treat you any differently than anybody else who came in, even though you were just starting out as a vocalist.
Right.
So I think you did great.
Thank you. I really enjoy being sitting there. The mic just somehow makes my voice sounds so much. People say, "Oh wow, is that you? Is that really you?" I remember I was driving home and it was my nephew, he's 5 years old, sitting back there. He listened to my CD. He's like, "Is that you?" After 5 minutes, "Is that really you?"
Yes. Well, also, there's tricks. I just interviewed a big name producer about how he does vocals, and he said, singing is one of the most scary things a human being can do, because you have to go in there and
it's very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable.
You're not hiding behind the piano.
He made me think. I didn't really think of it that way, but we talked together about how. You have to have the mood right in the room, and the temperature, so the vocalists get cold with air conditioning, hot tea, all that stuff. But the main thing is when they put the headphones on and sing into that microphone, they have to be inspired.
Right.
So I take a lot of trouble before we start. I put the headphones on and I test the mic and I want you to go, and they go, wow, I sound great. Oh, let's go. Then you're in the right mood.
So I actually enjoy hearing my own voice. That's
really the
best
point.
part. So
and a lot of people who come to my studio say, wow, I never sounded this good. But I have the same mic as everybody else. I have the same thing, but I take a little time to make it.
So that's the trick.
I
thought maybe it's the river he had or whatever it is.
It's a little bit of everything, but it's also just making sure that it sounds great before the person comes. And then you're confident and you just can roll. You don't have to worry, okay, I don't hear myself, or the click is too loud, or blah, blah, blah. Everything is great.
Yeah.
And that's really the trick, is preparation.
Right.
Just so like on your side, preparation is the lyrics.
It's get the music ready, make sure every part is good.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. So do you mind talking a little bit about the experience of mixing the album, the music, how do you like the music?
Well, Ulysses and I have mixed a lot of things together. So we have principal persons in the record. Ulysses is the producer, and Chris Sulit, who's amazing. He just has a really good gift for capturing the sounds. So it was already sounding great. And then I have a pretty good sense of balance of jazz ensembles, whether they're large or small. So I just kind of balanced the band how we wanted. And that was already kind of done when you were singing.
Right.
You know, except for the mastering side, which is bringing the level up to the final level. But the band was already there while you sang, and then we just had to sit the vocal in at the right level. And I think in this kind of record, the vocal has to be very forward so everybody can feel you. You're like in front of the band leading.
Right.
Not,
So
not tucked in like rock.
So
Rock is more surrounded by power, but in this case, Ulysses is grooving, everybody's playing great, and then you're just running the show. And downstage,
I'm the diva for this show.
You are.
Yeah, and you say this album kind of reminds me more like a classic old jazz album.
You know, everybody approached it from, and even your writing approaches it from those, you know, those Natalie Cole, Diana Krall, you know, like
Cole Porter,
like Tony Bennett. We talked about some of these artists, and then we listened. And even though they're made at different times, even Frank Sinatra, there's a certain sound. It's like very live sound.
Right, and also kind of nostalgic, you know, spirit.
Right. Beautiful melodies, you know, vocal forward, nice reverb. People don't realize when you listen to Tony Bennett or Diana Krall, there's a lot of reverb on the voice. And then people like you come in and go, oh, that seems like a lot of reverb. Yes, to you. To your voice.
Right.
But if you compare it to like other singers, you know, the reverb is what makes everybody go, I'm going to put this on for my party tonight.
Great. So I actually
we fooled around with that, remember? Like a little more, a little less until we were all happy.
Right.
And it's always a process, you know. It's like
find it.
It's like cooking, you know. You put a little salt.
Especially it's our first time work together, so you take some time to find.
And Ulysses was very active in the mixing process. You know, can I hear more cymbals here? And this and that.
I just leave that to him because he has a good ear for
He's
that.
got a great ear.
So, so I'm just you sound so singing. And I actually fall in love with your mic, so I was like, I'm coming back. You'll see me. You'll see me.
That particular mic has won a lot of friends. That was a recommendation from two different singers, Cyndi Lauper, you know who she is, and Joan Osborne, and they both, their producer used that mic, and they both say, you know, there's this mic that's really good for females, and it's beautiful sounding.
Yes. So I plan to make another album, so you'll see me very soon, and I actually get more confidence from my singing, so and people actually
and every time you know, artists that I work with, when they come back, the process is much faster because we've already covered all those issues and everybody knows what to expect, so you know, it's more efficient, it's more cost effective and everything because we're just rolling, we're just making music, we're not thinking about I'm going to run out of money or I'm going to run out of time. We're just like, you know, I think it'll take this amount of days to sing 100 songs.
Yes.
And you'll just do it.
Right. So I look forward for more future collaborations.
Me too.
And we'll hope to get you another Grammy. Get us another one.
Yes, we will. That's a good deal. Thank you, Mavis.
Thank you.
颤抖中的双唇，亲吻着伤心的泪痕，隐落着看不见的灵魂，摸不着的冰冷和梦醒后的余温，望不转的眼神，徘徊在迷茫的心门。是否你看得出我的疼，思念着我的吻，何苦让我痴痴的